Hey guys, welcome to week one, well two really, of advanced studio recording. This week we're just going to do a review, so I'll talk through this PowerPoint, and then by the end of the week you'll have a quiz to take going over the stuff in this review. Okay, so I really just want to go over the basic studio components and equipment that you would use in a multi-track session. So we'll talk about all the stuff on the list here to the right of the title, and I'll go through each of those in a slide. I'll also put a PDF and the PowerPoint for you along with this video so that you can look at it during the quiz. Okay, so the control room is where the engineer, which is what you'll be doing, where they work. So all of the recording equipment, the computer, studio monitors for critical listening are all located in the control room. The tracking room is different than the control room. This is where the musicians are set up, where you set your mics up, and where you capture sound. So you'll be listening to that sound in the control room, but the musicians and all the equipment, as you can see in the picture, are located in the tracking room. As far as microphones, we went over two basic types, the dynamic microphone and the condenser microphone. And just to know, all microphones are considered transducers, which means they convert analog sound to electrical sound, and then that electrical sound goes to our interface, is converted to digital, and recorded on the computer. Dynamic microphones use magnetic induction. That's just a coil wrapped around a magnet, so when the magnet moves, when you speak or sing or whatever into the microphone, it transduces that analog signal to electrical. Overall, dynamic microphones are very rugged, so usually you'll find these in live performances because they can be dropped, things spilled on them, stepped on, whatever else, and they'll still keep working. And they're also really good for high sound pressure levels like kick drums, loud guitar amplifiers and such. So that's the dynamic microphone. Condenser microphones, they use capacitance, basically two plates, one that moves, and they do need a power supply. So this is where we apply our 48 volts of phantom power. Dynamic microphones do not need that. These are not as rugged as a dynamic microphone, but they do produce better quality. So often you'll see these microphones are used for vocals, stringed instruments, acoustic instruments like an acoustic guitar, overheads for drums to pick up the nuances of the cymbals. So anything where you want more detail, and usually when you're in a studio setting you don't have to worry about dropping the microphone, so that's where you'll find these mostly in studios. This is the actual preamp that we have, I believe, in the studio. There's 8 of them in here. Each preamp just takes one microphone signal and boosts that signal to line level, because microphones have low impedance, which means that the signal can just travel through a cable very easily for a long distance because it's not impeded. But that level is low, so when it gets to the preamp, the level has to be brought up so that we have it at line level. This way we get a good recorded signal. We could hear it properly in the studio and such. The studio console in general is basically a big routing matrix, meaning it will take any signal, maybe a kick drum input or a vocal input, and route that signal wherever you might need it. Sometimes to the interface to be recorded in the computer, to the studio monitors, to an effect like a reverb effect, or also to the headphones for the musician to hear themselves and hear previously recorded tracks. So really, and the console we have, which is pictured here, the Matrix SSL Matrix, it doesn't have any preamps. It's analog digital hybrid, but it's used to just process the signals and move them around. Well, move them around more than process. The audio interface basically connects either preamps and or the console to the computer, and this is where our signal goes from electrical to digital and saved on the hard drive. We have the one of the rack units pictured here, but there's also smaller versions where you could have in your home studio. But really, whether there's a preamp built in or not, it will take the electrical signal, convert that to digital, save it on the computer, and then it will also bring that digital signal back out to analog so we could hear it through speakers and headphones. This way it's not just on a hard drive and we can't listen to it. Within the studio monitoring for speakers, we have two types. These are always in the control room. Usually we use those near field that you'll see pictured on the desk. We don't have our far field hooked up in the studio right now, but those are the ones that are embedded in the wall. Usually the far field are used when the musicians come in. They want to hear the tracks. It sounds really good. For more critical listening and mixing, the near field are generally what's used. Sometimes headphones just to verify sounds. And then far field are just a secondary source usually. We always have headphones in the studio and in the live room. The musicians always wear headphones. This way they can hear everything that's already recorded. They can hear themselves. They can hear other instruments. But we have to make sure that we are listening to the same mix that the artists are listening to while we give them that mix. Not the whole time, but when you're giving them the mix. So as I said, the console will have multiple routing options where you can route signals to the speakers, but then you could also route signals to headphones for the musicians, and you get multiple headphone mixes so that the drummer and say the singer, the drummer and the piano player can have different mixes than one another. It's important to get a good headphone mix, and we'll probably go over that a bit more over this semester.